Hey guys, TinyBoy601, and let me be the first to wish you a happy new year. We made it through 2020. Now let's hope that 2021 is a little bit better. Sometime in the video today, we do have a code for a special patch in game, so be on the lookout for that. And at this time, I want to go ahead and do the comment of the video. This is where we go ahead and shout out someone from the previous video's comment section. Today, we're going to go ahead and shout out Asian Gamer 54 and do an actual dual shout out with DJ Shag. They had a great back and forth conversation about the Nuremberg class and the Leipzig class and a bunch of German ship history. So if you want to take a look at that, go ahead, head on back to the previous video about what is possibly a new premium ship coming into World of Warships Legends. But beyond that, it's a new year, and with a new year, we're going to be go ahead and kicking off a new series, what we're calling Best and Worst. The idea being that we go ahead and look at the best and the worst of a certain class in a certain tier. We'll be making a spreadsheet giving points for best and worst in the class, 2 points, either positive or negative, for the best, and one point for the second best or second worst in the class. Then we go ahead and add all the stats up, and we go ahead and decide what is the best and worst according to this mathematical formula. And then also I'll go ahead and talk on my opinions and whether I agree with what the spreadsheet gods are saying, or if I have a different recommendation than what the initial analysis is saying. We won't be taking into account premiums during this. I'm doing that just because premiums tend to be very specialized builds. They tend to have some weird stats integrated into them. And because of that, I don't know if they really work out the best way for the scoring system, just because they may have a lot of weaknesses, but then are made up by some weird special stats or abilities, and I don't want to have that thrown off. So we are going to be mainly looking at tech tree ships for this. And while we're going through this video, don't be afraid to comment down below. Let me know what you disagree with, what you think is your best and worst ships at the tier. I'm interested to hear your opinions. So kicking off, we're going to go ahead and talk about what is the worst according to our wonderful spreadsheet. And if we go ahead and take a look, it is actually a tie between the Minkaze and the Mutsuki. Both of them trade off in best in class for their detection ranges. The Minkaze has a best-in-class stealth at 5 kilometer detection range by sea, where the Mutsuki has a 5.1 kilometer detection by sea. On the other end, the Mutsuki has best-in-class for detectability by air and in smoke, 2.7 by air, with the Minkaze at 2.8. Both of these also excel in rudder shift speed, Mutsuki at 2.1 and the Minkaze at 2.4. The Mutsuki, being the torpedo ship of the Japanese Navy, being a torpedo destroyer, does have best-in-class torp range of 8 kilometers, but sadly, this is kind of where her strengths fall off. Because she only has 2 guns, she will be firing the least number of shells per minute at only 22 shells every minute, and of that, she's going to be doing the worst damage per minute in class. Overall, she's looking at about 38,490 if she's firing HE. And then she does also have the worst AP damage for the class, meaning that she is only going to do 45,000 damage if she can manage to get her AP shells to pen, which will most likely not even happen. The Minkaze, on the other hand, does benefit from her additional guns, but she is still firing the same shells from those guns. So as a result, she still does have very poor damage per minute numbers. She also has the weakest torpedoes, which is kind of surprising when you think about a Japanese destroyer. She can use them to good effect, and she does actually have the quickest reload time on those torpedoes, which does actually help her out in the end. On the other side of the spectrum is the best in class for destroyers, and that's actually going to be the Farragut. She's middle of the road when it comes to detectability. She has a 5.7 kilometer detectability by sea and a 3 kilometer detectability by air. She does have the slowest torpedoes in the class, and overall kind of weak torps with the second worst damage and the second longest reload time in the class. But that is her main weakness. She definitely makes up for them with her weapons. She has best in class reload time on her 127mm cannons, which means she'll be able to fire 79 rounds per minute, and in doing so will do 142,000 damage per minute when it comes to HE, and 165,000 damage per minute when it comes to AP, both of which are best in class. Her one other shining stat is going to be her 180-degree turret traverse. It's 10.7 seconds, which on brand with her is going to be the fastest for any of those tier 4 destroyers, making her a very powerful American gunboat who has rather weak torpedoes, but middle of the ground detectability, and overall is a pretty decent package. At this point, we're about halfway through the video, so I'm going to go ahead and put out that code for the free, it's a holiday patch. If you want to redeem the code, you're going to go ahead and go to wowlegends.com/code redeemer. And at that site, you're going to go ahead and type in ho, ho, ho 2020. Once again, HO, HO, HO 2020. It's a Christmas patch, guys. It's a pretty great code for that. So if you want that, like I said, go ahead over to that website, wowlegends.com/code redeemer. So that is what the spreadsheet says are the best and worst. And I personally don't agree with the worst there. My least favorite destroyer at the tier is actually going to be the German T-22. And this one was close for me because there's two ships I really had my eye on for the worst in class, and that was the T-22 or the Acosta. Overall, I love the British destroyer line, but both the Acosta and the T-22 are missing what the rest of their line has when it comes to abilities. From tier 5 and on, both the T-22 and the Acosta, but in this case the T-22, has hydroacoustic, it has sonar. So it is able to push into smoke clouds, mainly looking at like the Farragut. That's where it's big, that's where the American destroyers start to lose out in the abilities in the higher tiers, is that the British and the German destroyers can push into their smoke clouds, are able to detect and fire on the American ships, kind of leveling the playing field as far as the Americans' pure damage per minute and guns overall. But beyond just not having that key feature of having sonar in a destroyer, there's some other things with the T-22 that just didn't click with me. So first off, she is the slowest destroyer in the class at only 34.5 knots. Beyond that, she does have the lowest damage per minute when firing AP shells, and then she has the weakest HE shells with the lowest fire chance among the tier, meaning overall you are more likely to kind of lose out on fights when using the T-22, and that's just not my favorite thing. I think, like I said, the not having the big ability for her line is one huge detriment, and then those other things just kind of add up and make her not a desirable ship for me overall. On the other hand, my favorite tier and my recommendation is the Farragut as well. As previously stated, she is a powerhouse because the enemies don't really have the usual tools to deal with strong American ships at this tier. She is a little bit overpowered for the tier. Her torpedoes, not the strongest, but for the American destroyers, it's a gunboat. You should be at range. You should be using the smoke. And at this tier, there isn't sonar from destroyers or radar from cruisers to have to worry about, unless, of course, you're being tiered up to a tier 5 game and there happens to be a Bouillonnier in the game, which I really doubt because they're kind of a rare ship to see out and about when playing. So overall, the Farragut is my favorite tier 4 destroyer. I think she's very strong for the tier, and I would definitely recommend her. Now, small disclosure, the first ships that I learned in this game were American destroyers, and therefore I'm gonna have a pull to them. But I think looking at the stats of all of the ships, I think we can safely say that she is probably the strongest at the tier when it comes to tech tree ships. So yeah, guys, those are my opinions on the best and worst ships for tier 4 destroyers. What do you guys think? Did you guys disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. What are your favorite tier 4 destroyers? Hoping you guys like this series. If you did, hit that like button. Let me know. I would hope to be able to do this for pretty much all of the tiers and all of the classes. I think it could be a fun way to go ahead and dive deep on the stats of a bunch of ships. But you guys let me know down below. My name's Tomboy601, and I hope you guys have a great new year and the rest of your day. See ya.